Hey guys, Guardian here, coming to you guys with another deck profile for Cardfight Vanguard. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys my brand new Majesty slash Blaster Thing Saver deck. So this is a deck that's been getting a lot of popularity lately, and rightfully so. The deck's been performing very well, but also for me, it's personally one of my most favorite decks just purely because of the fact that there are so many Blaster Blade cards in this deck and so many like nostalgic old cards that have been sort of recreated into more modern cards today. It's just absolutely amazing. So without further ado guys, let's get straight into this deck. I'm really looking forward to profiling this deck because this is going to be like my main deck for a pretty long time, pretty much until we get any sort of confirmation of an IG Legend deck. So yeah, because this is basically going to be an IG deck, let's be honest. So starting off, we're going to go for the grade 3. So we have the one Majesty Lord Blaster, and also the one copy of Alt Mile. So these are sort of the singular grade 3s of the deck. Majesty Lord being the main grade 3 of the deck, with it being a blaster name, so you can go into things like Soul Saver Dragon, your Stride, and also having the blaster name allows you to use other cards in the deck like Blaster Barkle, because in order to get the unflipped skill from Blaster Barkle, you need to have a blaster name on the Vanguard circle. But yeah, Magic Solar Blaster, really cool. His skill is that whilst you have Blaster Blade and Blaster Dark on the Soul, he gains 2000 power and an extra critical permanently, so he becomes a 12k base Vanguard. And also his second skill is that when he attacks, you can put Blaster Blade and Blaster Dark from your rear guards into your soul, and he gains an additional 10k power until the end of that turn. So the really cool thing with him is that it's actually a lot easier to get the Blaster Blade and Blaster Dark in your soul, thanks to some of the support cards we got in G-BT06, such as, where is he? Lou got a new version of himself, a really big upgrade from the last time we saw him. But yeah, so these are the two singular grade 3s that people tend to be running. Some people like running two Majesty Lord Blaster, which I can understand why, but I like having the Alt Mile in the deck just because of the fact that we do run the Stride Enabler, the Royal Paladin Stride Enabler, so we can use his skill to search out the Alt Mile and thin down the deck. Maybe discard a Thing Saver from your hand, because you've got 4 of them in the deck, so if you've got any early ones in the early stages of the game, you can just thin down the deck, get Alt Mile out the deck and stuff like that. So yeah, so these are the singular grade 3s of the deck. And then of course we have the 4 copies of Thing Saver Dragon, the big guy himself. Got this way back when Legion first came out. What was it, BT16? Yep, BT16. When I played my old Seeker deck back in the day then. Wasn't that long ago, I think it was about just over a year ago or so. But yeah, Thing Saver Dragon, really, really good card. It's amazing how it still stays good even in this day and age, but yeah, this deck just made it a lot easier to get his skill off. The main brutal thing with him is that you can actually get 3 Vanguard attacks off with him if you got everything set up correctly with his skill. So yeah, 4 Thing Saver is definitely staple in the deck, so running the 4 copies of him. Next with the grade 2s, we have 4 copies of Blaster Blade, the original Blaster Blade himself, way back when in Season 1. I have the 3 copies of the trial deck artwork, and this cool promo version as well that came in a manga, so that's pretty awesome. But yeah, Blaster Blade, he's a lot better now thanks to Blaster Barkle. Basically becomes an unflip engine for the deck. If you call a Blaster Blade in the same column that Blaster Barkle's in, and you have a Blaster Vanguard, you can unflip a damage in your damage zone. So yeah, it's really cool the fact that they gave Blaster Blade sort of a door for the deck, giving it more unflip engine possibilities. And yeah, Blaster Blade as well, he's become a lot more brutal because he's in combination with things like Lou, which I'll get into now. So the 4 Blaster Blade. Let's see, and next we have the 4 copies of Lou. So this is called Favored Pupil, the Light and Dark Lou. His skill's just crazy. Like, I say this now, his skill is just out of this world. So, whilst he's on rearguard, as long as he's been boosted by either Blaster Barkle or Floral Paladin Floggle, which is the new critical trigger that we got, he gains an additional 3000 power. And he also gains another skill. So the skill is that at the end of the battle that you attack the Vanguard, you can counterblast one and then put him into the soul. That's already good because you're feeding the soul for Think Saver Dragon late game. But then you get a Superior Call one grade 2 card from your deck with Blaster in its card name, and then call it to the rearguard, and then it gains 3,000 power until the end of turn. So not only can you go search for Blaster Blade with Lou, but you can also search for other things in the deck, such as, oh I don't know, Blaster Dark. So he has the possibilities to search out Blaster Dark to help you with your Majesty Lord Blaster plays. And also you can go for other gimmicky cards like Blaster Blade Spirit. And yeah, it's just, Lou's just insanely good. He's probably one of the best support cards we got in the entire G-BT06 set. But obviously Blaster Barkle and Flogel as well are also really good. I'll get to them in a second. But yeah, Lou is just, he's just crazy. So you've got to max him out with 4. Next, we're running 3 copies of Blaster Blade Seeker. Of course, because you need it for the Legion mate with Think Saver Dragon. Got 2 copies of the Think Saver art, which is nice. I stuck in the 1 copy of the Alfred art just because it's a different artwork of Blaster Blade, and yeah, why not? Well, main reason was because I didn't have a 3rd copy of the Think Saver art, but yeah, just looks nice with the fact that I have loads of different artworks of Blaster Blade, which is really cool. But just 3 copies of him. He's really just in the deck for the Legion for Think Saver. But other than that, he's also a Blaster name as well that you can use. So overall, not too bad. And you can get the skill off every now and then when you do have a Seeker Vanguard. A nice counterblast one to retire something. But overall, yeah, just running the 3 of them though. And then the last grade 2s of the deck is the original Blaster Dark and also Blaster Blade Spirit. So yeah, as I said, Lou can call these from the deck, so just running 1 copy of each is okay, and of course the Blaster Dark is for Majesty Lord Blaster, and Blaster Blade Spirit is pretty decent in general, just because he's a 10k body, so if you end up riding him as a Vanguard for the Blaster name, it's not too bad. So yeah, you can kind of guard early game with him, which is pretty nice, so yeah. Next with the grade 1s, we have 4 copies of Blaster Friend Barkle, of course. This guy's just amazing, as I've said numerous times now. He works in conjunction with so many cards in the deck. You've just got to run him at 4. He's just really, really good. Then running 4 copies of the Stride Enabler for Royal Paladin, Laurel Knight Sickles. Just enables you to stride more often, basically. Gives you access to Alt Mile if need be. So, yeah, 4 copies of him. And then we have 4 copies of the G Perfect Guard. Just to help you with damage and flipping. You can run the deck without it, but you kind of have to be a bit more smarter with your counter blasting that way, but I just like the fact that you can get the additional damage and flips with this, so yeah, like running 4 copies of her. And the last grade 1 is 2 copies of Swordsman of Light Blaster Rapier Laura. Reason for running her is because she's actually got the Blaster name in her name, so you can actually ride her as the grade 1 in order to get Wingo Brave's skill off, because that's why things like Blaster Barkle and the additional Blaster cards are just really, really amazing. Just giving you access to Wingo Brave's skill to search for a Blaster card, just really, really good. Essentially giving you access to your Majesty Lord Blaster like straight away. So basically gives you a grade 3 like every time you get a skill off, just in case you weren't able to draw the grade 3 before then. So yeah. So that is the grade 1s, and that's also the starter as well, Wingo Brave. So moving on to the triggers, we're running 8 criticals, 4 copies of the new critical Floral Paladin Flogel. So Flogel has returned as a critical trigger, which is really cool. Really like her artwork as well. She looks really, really awesome. But yeah, her skill, oh my god, her skill's just out of this world again. These new support cards were just absolutely amazing. So her skill is that at the end of the battle that a unit named Blaster Blade attacked a Vanguard, you would pay the cost. Counterblast 1 and put this card into your deck. If you do, stand Blaster Blade back up. So yeah, it basically gives Blaster Blade a second attack. If you go into a stride and you triple drive check, any triggers that you get, you can throw onto Blaster Blade. Then you can attack with Blaster Blade, and then use Floropald and Floggle to counterblast, put it into the deck, and stand it back up. So let's say, for argument's sake, you got a draw and a crit. If you brought the Blaster Blade out with Lose skill with an additional 3k, it was a 12 clear Blaster Blade to start with, and then the 2 triggers make it 22. So if as I said, let's say you got a crit and a draw, it'll be a 22k Blaster Blade with a crit that you stand back up. That's crazy. That's just crazy. So the fact that that's a possibility in this deck, and you can actually do it quite often, it's just nuts. So yeah, Floribald and Floggle, one of the best triggers I have seen, by far. And the other critical trigger we're running is 4 copies of Bringer of Dreams Billness, I believe. I think that's how you pronounce his name. But yeah, basically this is the alt mile critical trigger. So when your Vanguard attacks, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with alt mile in the card name, you may pay the cost, put this unit into your soul from the rear guard. If you do, draw 1 card, and then your Vanguard gains an additional 5,000 power. It's just nice. The fact that we have alt mile in the deck as well, and also we have alt mile stride, so we can actually get the effect off that way. It's just nice the fact that we do have another trigger that has a usable effect. And you know, the fact that it goes into soul, you know, it feeds the Think Saver. So again, just a nice usable card for the deck. So 8 critical triggers, really, really awesome. Next, we have 4 copies of the Draw Margle. This is the old BT02 Margle. For some reason, this is a lot more difficult to find. I have no idea why, but yeah, 4 copies of the original Margle. Again, just always good in Think Saver. Just put it in the soul, give 3k to a unit, and that soul just keeps building up for Think Saver's skill to get more ready to use. So yeah, 4 copies of the Draw Margle. And then finally, I thought I'd keep it in theme since it is an Aichi deck, really. I put 4 copies of Elaine back into the deck. Yeah, it's just the classic original heal from the Trial Deck 1. So yeah, running 4 copies of her. Okay, so that is the main deck. Moving into the Stride deck, we have 2 copies of Holy Dragon Religious Soul Saver. A very, very powerful card in the deck. You can technically get this card's effect off and ready as a first Stride, which is just insane. So essentially its skill is Counterblast 1 and Persona Flip. When this unit is ridden on the Vanguard, if you have a heart with Blaster in the card name, so yeah, it's going to be Majesty Lord Blaster. If you do, choose 3 of your unit, up to 3 of your units on the field, and they gain 5,000 power each. And if the number of cards in your soul with Blaster in the card name is 2 or more, Soul Saver gains an additional critical. So this is actually pretty easy to meet, especially with Majesty Lord Blaster. If you get Majesty Lord skill off and have 2 blasters in the soul, you get that critical, making it more pressurizing for the opponent. And not to mention the 5,000 power on 3 units on your field. That's just crazy. So your field gains 15k. Absolute crazy stuff. So definitely 2 copies of this. It's basically the Blaster Stride for the deck. Then we have 2 copies of the Alt Mile Stride, Aerial Divine Knight Alt Mile. I love this card. It's just absolutely amazing. It shooters for any grade 2 in your deck that you need. So if you need that loot, if you need the Blaster Blade, if you need that Blaster Dark, whatever, this guy can get it. Gives 3k to all front row units in your rear guard. And also the grade 2 that your Superior Call gains 5k as well, if that wasn't good enough for you already. So yeah, and the great thing I love with this as well, and the rest of the Stride units, is that they don't cost anything. Soul Saver is the only one that costs Counterblast, which is just 1, which is okay. But the fact that this doesn't cost anything to use is just absolutely amazing. So 2 copies of him. 2 copies of Saint Blow Dragon, one of my favourite strides. Just the fact that he can go critical so easily, and he gains power the more rear guards you have. So definitely like running 2 of them in the deck. And then I have 1 copy of Gablade, just a nice backup stride unit. Pretty nice in case you think that your opponent has a perfect guard and they're going to use it. So you can always just go into this first. And you never know, if they don't guard it, you get the grade 2 for free as well. So just a nice one-of in the deck. And the last stride unit is Madu. Pretty simple because Majesty Lord Blaster is a 10k, so you can use this guy and get the the grade 3 that you discarded for the stride back to your hand. Gives you recyclability and also gives you a nice easy way to get a face-up G unit in your zone as well. So 1 copy of Madu. So yeah, there you go guys. That was my Blaster Thing Saver or Majesty Thing Saver deck profile. As I said, one of my favourite decks. I'm going to be using this for a very long time. Really, really awesome, really, really fun, and yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile. Again, I know that this deck has been shown everywhere, and most builds look like the same, but I just wanted this deck on my channel, just because it's one of my favourite decks by far, and I do have some other decks to show you as well, that I've upgraded through G-BT06, so look forward to them, and yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. See you later guys, bye.